Well, good afternoon and welcome to Ed's Orchids. Now, for a bit of a change, I haven't shown you for quite some time, is the Angraecums. Now, I used to have quite a few of these, sesquipedales, crestwoods, diderais, veitchii, etc. Unfortunately, the crestwood, although I did get a young plant off it that I sent to Ireland, it suddenly started dying off, and that's died off, and I'd had it years. And this one in front of you is a sesquipedale, and I've had this one years, and it stands just over 2 feet tall, about 63 centimetres, something like that. Now, I've had this since it was a tiny little thing, very, very small, and so I must have had it at least over 10 years. And these Angraecums, they hate to be repotted. They don't like the roots disturbing. So what I do, and I've told you before, is see if I can get this onto the roots. There might be 3 or 4 pots in there, because every time it grows and it repots, it needs repotting. I'll leave it in the pot it's in, put it into another pot, and don't disturb the roots. And as you can see there, it's got a certain size now, it's probably full size, and the roots are always growing down into the ground, and it just anchors. It's such a big plant, it just anchors itself there. Now, these really are epiphytes, which means they grow on trees in Madagascar, and they grow all over the coast of Madagascar at heights of around about up to probably 100 metres, something like that, or 100 feet, 100 metres, and so they are classed as a hot growing plant. Now, this sesquipedale, the Angraecum sesquipedale, they're also known as the comet orchid, the Christmas orchid, Star of Bethlehem, and of course with the Darwin's orchid, where Darwin sort of said that for the flowers to be pollinated you would need a moth with the tongue sort of 18 inches long, and everybody laughed at him. But a few years after his death, the actual film of an actual moth with an 18-inch long tongue sticking it straight in into the bottom of the spurs on the flower. Now, these like plenty of water in the warm growing months. They're all subject to high humidity and everything in the wild, and well, they like less water in winter, like they do. So less water means a lot less fertiliser. I mean, you can grow these being epiphytes without giving it any fertiliser whatsoever, but a little bit of fertiliser every so often just helps it to give that little bit of a spurt on. It very rarely has uniform straight leaves. As I said, it's found all around the Madagascar coastline, and likes a temperature throughout the year of between, I would say, 15 centigrade and 30 centigrade, and also, as I said before, with a high humidity. At the beginning of the growing season, as with most of the orchids, I like to give them extra nitrogen to boost the growth up, and as it's coming into spike, which these do round about September time in the northern hemisphere, I give them more phosphorus to promote the blooming. Now, the only thing I can say about these is, that doesn't need to be in, looking out for the bugs. If you find they're getting very yellow here, just open up the leaf and have a look down, and if they're getting very yellow, you'll find out that it's got mealybug down there. So that's the thing to watch out for. As you can see, this is coming up with a nice new leaf in the middle, so the plant's going to get a little bigger, and that won't grow, the leaf, I don't think, until we start off getting a little bit warmer. So we'll give them plenty of light. Like in the wild, they'll get these, they'll get sun, but they'll get diffused sun in Madagascar. And that's what they're like, because if you give them too much sun, the leaves will burn. It'll take years and years for the burns to wear off. You'll have to wait till the leaf drops off before you get rid of them. So that's about all I can tell you about Sesquipedale. Lovely plant, big plant. Not fit for growing in the home, because unless you've got quite a big windowsill, and it'll have to be a big windowsill, these just won't fit in. Now this is one of my favourite little Angraecums, only a very small plant, and it also comes from Madagascar. It grows at much higher levels than the Sesquipedale I've just shown you, and it can be classed then as a hot to cool growing plant. This one has large flowers for its size, absolutely beautiful, and as usual with all the Angraecums, they're white. In the northern hemisphere, like the other one, they'll flower around about the September time, and this again hates to be repotted. I mean, I've potted this in bark, as you can see, and if that bark starts becoming, starts getting decayed and becoming a little bit soggy, then it'll have to be repotted. But they absolutely hate it, and if you move them, these can take maybe 2 years before they start moving again. This is still in the same pot that I got at the beginning of the year from, where did I get it from? Grossrechner. And it hasn't grown a lot, it's grown a few roots. It's a little group coming out the side, I'll show you in a minute. But the one thing I do like about these plants is the roots. They're very, very knobbly. I think I'll show you. These lovely little plants are again epiphytes, and with the knobbly leaves, as you can see there, knobbly leaves, knobbly roots, they're absolutely lovely. And I think you can just see a swelling coming out there, right at the end, and that could be the beginning of a nice flower spike, but that won't develop till later on in the year. Here you can see it better there. But well worth having on any collection, and these will grow on a windowsill inside. Angraecum didierai. Now this one is Angraecum veitchii. Now, a big story to this one. This used to be a very, very big plant. Flowered numerous times, absolutely beautiful flowers on them. Up to 6 flowers per spike, but suddenly it started dying off, and it was dying off from the bottom upwards, with all the leaves dropping off and everything. So I got to a point then where I thought, well, enough's enough, we'll try and save the top half. And it had 1 root on it, so I chopped it off and I planted it in this large bark here. And I've looked at it once, and there are roots growing, so we'll show you them in a minute if I can find them. And this one is only a foot high above the medium, but it's 29 inches wide. So this is another that's no good for windowsills. I'm quite pleased with this one because it's just grown that new flower in the middle that's standing up there. I'll show you. This one, all nice and green, unmarked, and let's see if we can have a look at the the roots on this, because as I said before, it only had one root on it, but I think there's quite a few more now. It's kept like all my others, Angraecums, you know, wet in the warmer months, almost dry but not quite dry in the winter months. And I do that the same with the Rhinanthus, apart from one Rhinanthera that I have, which is the Philippinense, which virtually grows in a swamp. So I keep that one wet all the time. So we'll just take the camera now and have a look, see if we can have a look at some roots on this one, because the plant is looking quite impressive. Well, as you can see, there's some roots there going around the top, and there should be some under here, I think. Yep, some more roots coming up there. I'll not disturb them too much. And over here. None over there yet, but plenty of roots growing on this plant now. So I'm very, very pleased with this one, and I think this will be flowering in another 2 or 3 years' time, hopefully. Now these veitchii were the very first hybridized Angraecum, and they were hybridized in the late 1800s by a man called Seddon, who worked for the veitchii at nurseries, and he worked, he's a very, very good hybridizer of lots of things, and he went right into, I think, around about the late 20s, early 30s of the 1900s before he stopped hybridizing. Now, if you have one of these veitchii and it blooms and the flowers aren't looking very good, that is probably because it was bred from Hibernium and from Sesquipedale. Now the Hibernium has what you might call the lip of the plant, the bottom of the flower, turning upwards, where the other variety, the Sesquipedale, has it turning downwards. So the plant gets a little bit confused with the blooms. You know, they look like it's twisted, some are pointed down, some are pointed up. So I wouldn't worry about it too much if you're getting sort of silly looking blooms on it. Just stake them and try and prop them up the right way, as you like. Well, that's about all I can tell you about these Angraecums. So we'll just have a look at the Sesquipedale again. They've got roots on them like steel, absolutely solid. Sesquipedale down to its little brother, Dideri, and then up again to veitchii. So that's about all I can show you on these. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks once again to all my subscribers. Thank you for all the comments, which I try and answer the best I can. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Bye.